Good evening, everyone. Welcome to All Things with Miata, featuring Mindy Landers today. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you, Mindy, for coming on with us this evening and allowing me to interview you. How are you this evening?
Doing fine, thank you. And it's a pleasure and an honor. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So I'm just going to say this is number
Uh-huh.
two interview and podcast on YouTube. So I'm really excited about that, and I want to say thank you again to Mindy because she is my battle buddy through this
One half of it.
one half of our of my battle buddy. And accountability is really important, and you've been an awesome accountability partner, keeping me up to breast and all that good stuff and helping me. So I want to say thank you before we
You-
get into all
Oh,
of
you're welcome. And I'm sure your turn will come. Don't worry. You'll have to keep me in line.
that. So first of all, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Um, oh my gosh. I tell people I'm a gypsy. I'm not necessarily by blood, although, it's probably in the woodpile somewhere, right? Anyway, but I've lived all over the US. So I started out, my dad was in the Air Force. So, I was born on an Air Force Base hospital and I've been moving ever since. So um I've lived all over the US. And currently, my daughter and I, who is the other half of the Battle Buddy team here, she and I work together, live together, and we're doing this business together. We're both truck drivers, so we have not always been. That's just where we've ended up in the last few years. But we're working very hard to get off the road because it's just not a very nice place to be. So I don't know if if you've ever been in a big rig or what have you, but it's crazy dangerous. So yeah, it is actually one of the most dangerous professions out there. So um, yes, yeah. Anyway, so we're trying to get off because the stress level is terrible too. So anyway, but so we're doing that, and then I have 5 kids. I've been married 40 years.
Awesome.
Um, Lauryn is the youngest daughter. I only have 2 girls, 3 boys, 2 girls. So she's my youngest daughter, but not my youngest child. So um, and just like I said, right now we're just doing try and trying to get into a number of things with real estate. We see real estate as being where our to be able to grow our future. So I want to be able to leave something to her and my other children and my grandson, um, and be able to take care of my husband and I, yeah, as well. He's already retired. He's disabled retired, so he retired several years ago.
Okay.
So that kind of leaves the burden on me to kind of do it until and get it picked up, to make sure we're set for the rest of our lives.
Absolutely, absolutely. So real estate is what you are concentrating on now. Were there other entrepreneurial ventures or opportunities that you kind of dove into
Certainly. I've been
prior
kind
to
of,
this?
oh yeah, I've been kind of a serial entrepreneur. When I met my husband, my wedding gift from him was Princess House crystal, and so it was beautiful. And it's done by parties. So I started out
Okay.
years ago, like 40 years ago. Yeah, I was doing Princess House crystal parties where I would go to people's houses and set up all this beautiful. Oh, it was gorgeous. So I have a ton of that, of
Mm.
course, because the whole paycheck got spent on that. Anyway,
Right, right, right.
that's how that works. And then I did lingerie, in people's homes, same thing, same little parties and things. You would do little parties, and then my husband started a paralegal firm, and I became an insurance agent, and he and I worked together side by side. We ran a very successful paralegal firm. This was out in California, when we lived out in California in the Bay Area, and we did that for many years, and then we decided that we're tired of living life in the fast lane. Basically, we were just burning up the miles on the road because traffic is horrendous out there with 5 kids that have activities everywhere and business. It was nice we could work from home, so which because to pay for daycare or childcare or anything else for 5 kids is ridiculous. So
Ridiculous.
and we didn't want to do that anyway. We never had really. I so anyway, so we decided to move, and we closed up that business and moved to Missouri, and
Mm.
then from there to Oklahoma, and then from there to Texas, and then and then finally we ended up out here in Tennessee. So yeah, Knoxville, Tennessee's where. But yes, we've been, and even during that time, from the time I worked corporate W-2 jobs,
Hmm.
but I always had something on the side going. Usually, so like I said, a little serial entrepreneur. I've done furniture painting, I've done permanent makeup for people. Um, yeah, tattooing. So I did lips and eyes and eyebrows and things for
Wow.
people. Um, so yeah, just a number of different things. I've always been interested in learning and doing and keeping moving.
Wow, that's amazing. And it's wonderful that you're able to do that with your husband. You know, some
Yes,
of these with your husband.
right,
And so you're kind of, moving together and have a plan together. So that's amazing.
correct.
That's
Well,
amazing.
there was a method to the madness because I looked at one day I was working when he started the business. I was working for Wells Fargo Bank as a customer service rep,
Okay.
and and I told him, I said, when you get to the point where you need to hire someone, you're bringing me home. I'm going to be the one you hire. And that
Hmm.
was fine. But then I realized that if I didn't learn more about what his business was and how to do it, if anything should happen to him, there was no way I could support 5 kids on my own with an income from Wells Fargo or, anything. So it was a matter of just being forward thinking and thinking, how can I do this? So I ended up going into insurance sales, and I actually did very well at it. But I had a niche market, so that helped. And I was working with his clients. I ended up winning trips, traveled the world. I've taken the kids on trips. We've been to Paris and some islands and up to Canada and different places. So
That's amazing.
um, those were some of the little side benefits. But yeah, but we were able to earn a nice. I paid for kids to go to private school, things like that, things that you want to do and provide. But like I said, at some point it just got to be so much, the stress of trying to always constantly, and the cost of living, of course, going up and up and up.
Yeah,
And yeah, so we just made the decision at one point to, like I said, step aside from that. So, but it was nice. We did work together very, very well for a long time.
that's awesome. So what I hear you say, like you're a serial entrepreneur. I think about now we use the term side hustle. Like what's
Uh
your
huh.
side hustle, right? So
Exactly.
you were already doing side hustles a long time ago, right? So you were like
Right.
pre the side hustle term.
Right. Well, and what's funny is we had an office at home, and in those days, if you worked from home, that was seen as shady. If you
Mm,
didn't have an office, because again, we were a paralegal firm, so we had an office that people could come to. Um,
mm-hmm.
but I went to people's homes as more times than they even came to our office. So the office was more for show. I had to pay for this office. I was perfectly content to work from home. But like I said, back then it was like, oh, you have a home office? Yeah, it was kind of funny. Nowadays it's like, if you don't have a home office, what are you doing?
Right. What are you doing?
Are you crazy going to work? Yeah.
Right, right.
So
So you kind of took us on your ride, like your journey of entrepreneurship. What are some things that you found were challenges of entrepreneurship? And then also, what do you believe are the benefits? So first challenges, and now like how did you overcome them? And then what do you believe are the benefits of being an entrepreneur?
the challenges most people have is just figuring out what to do and then how to put the systems in place to help you do it. Sometimes it's just like I said, I did furniture painting. Well, you've got to learn to do. You got to learn because I didn't want to take someone's. I've done commissioned work where people paid me to do. They had a particular piece or what have you. But if you don't know what you're doing, you can really mess up. Somebody's piece. And
Yeah.
some of these things are things that have been in the family for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so or they need to fit a certain decor and what have you. So it just depends on what it is what you're doing. But there's always process that you have to go through to number one, is it something you like, or are you doing it just to basically make
Mm-hmm.
ends meet?
Good
And
point.
either works, if it helps. But and I absolutely loved painting. I could paint till 2 or 3 in the morning and do that. It was perfectly quiet and the whole bit. I love that. However, it's unless you've got a big volume going,
Yeah.
like everything, it's not that I could quit my W-2 job and do that full time. There are people that have done it. Um, they're just better equipped to do it than what I was at the time. So and that's fine. Um, so then I moved on to the next thing. It was like, okay, and I still do paint. I have a storage building with furniture in it, so
Oh wow.
that I can pull out and I can paint and do things at any point. But yeah, and so I still have fun with that. But it's not the focus that it was at one point.
Mm-hmm.
So challenges, yeah, basically it's just kind of determining, just like we do with the real estate here, with this, it's like you, it's the how do I get started? How do I get started? That's the first question you hear
Mm-hmm.
everybody say is, well, how do I get started? And that's usually what holds most people up, right? They go, oh, I know how to do this, but I don't know how to turn it into a business, or I
Right.
don't know how to, I enjoy doing it. The other thing you hear is people say, well, I enjoy doing it, but I don't know that I wouldn't enjoy it so much if I had to do it all the time,
Mm.
right? And so they're probably right. That wouldn't necessarily be the best business for them to get into. They might enjoy it as a hobby, but then to
Mm-hmm.
turn it into a business might take the joy out of it. So you truly have to find the things that you have the joy in. So that's one of
Connect
the
with that.
challenges.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I connect
It,
with that. That's I could agree.
exactly. So that's the challenge. And then once you've done that, if you can truly find the thing that you love, and I
Hmm.
think in all the things that I've done, that the theme that goes through it is I've done things that made other people happy. I could see the smile. We ran a restaurant for a while too. Um, and it was instant gratification. You know, you put a
Mm.
plate of food in front of someone and you can tell if they like it or not within a few minutes, right?
Right,
And
right, right.
so that was just awesome. And I love that. You know, that was just instant feedback. Um, and so that I just it made me feel good to know that I had taken care of someone at the end of their long work day. They came to, my restaurant, sat down, had a nice meal. They could go home, spend the time with the kids or whatever it is they needed to do, and they had an enjoyable evening. And so
Yeah.
I like that. So I did that. Everything that I've done has always been customer service or customer facing or customer service um, of some sort. And that's just my character, I guess. That's what I enjoyed.
Was there anything in particular, like maybe one challenge that you had that you overcame, and how did you overcome that in entrepreneurial
Um,
journey?
Yeah, just staying organized. That's always my biggest challenge with everything, staying organized. So, you know, when we had the paralegal firm, I dealt a lot with courts, probate system, things like that, lawyers, insurance agents, other real estate agents. I mean, I dealt with a number of professionals who all had different expectations of
Mm-hmm.
what we needed to be doing for. I'd have one client who I'd be dealing with five different people for that
Mm-hmm.
one client.
Mm-hmm.
And um, so I had to make sure that I had all my systems set up. So staying organized and
Staying
staying on top of things. And that's true no matter what you do. Some people function very well in chaos. Um, and I have a little bit of that. But I do much better if I can get it organized and keep it organized and stay on top of it. But that's my challenge because I'm not typically naturally that way. So I have to work at that constantly.
Mm-hmm. Mm. So as someone just kind of like starting out in the entrepreneurial journey,
Uh-huh.
if that be real estate or something else, what is a tip or two that you would, or like advice that you would give a person?
Don't overthink it, because there's no matter what you do, if you're not happy with it, you can you can always pivot, or you can tweak it. So just like I was saying, if it's a hobby and you don't think you'd like to do it all the time, well, that's okay. You won't know that. You won't know if you might be able to develop that into a passion. Okay. So it could be
Mm.
something, or it could lead you into something else. So if you think that that's the path you want to go down, go explore it. What's going to happen? The worst thing is that happen. You find out that I didn't really like that one. Let me try
Mm-hmm.
this one. And it's funny because people will say, "Oh, well, that makes you look kind of wishy-washy or whatever." No, it doesn't. There's no rule that's set anywhere that says you have to do this thing. People used to work 30 years and get a gold watch, right? And I've just never been that person. They would retire, work for the
Yeah.
same company for 30 years and what have you. And I think we're meant for more than that in life. That opportunities and things are put before us. So explore them because you only have the one life. And if you don't, then again, when at the end you'll go look back and go, well, I wish. So
Right.
and that's the one thing I don't want to do. We'll all have those things. Most of us will have something where we go, oh, I wish I'd done this or that, or I wish I'd, taken care of this or explored that.
Right.
And so we'll all have some of those, but I want to minimize that as much as possible and just explore. There's so much and there's so many people. Um, just in the last few days, we've been doing this challenge where we had to try and meet 50 people and have conversations with them. And I've
Yeah.
met some of the most amazing people that
Oh.
and had some extremely, interesting conversations. And these are people who I would never have met. They're in the same group I'm in, but
Mm-hmm.
because the group is so large, I probably would not have met them if this particular time. So I've kind of made it a challenge to myself that from now on, I'm going to try to do that every 2 or 3 months, I think.
Hmm.
Say, I'm going to challenge myself to go make another 20, 25 friends, as I could do it and send out a message and say, who'd like to, and keep
Nice.
that going. It's been awesome.
That's
So anyway,
phenomenal.
but that's so little tips. It's, yes, putting yourself out there, and meeting people because you don't know who someone else knows. Okay. And so that's how you meet those other people. And then you just broaden your horizons and your spectrum. It's amazing how fulfilled. One of the things you hear people talk about nowadays is we have 5,000 friends on Facebook, but we only have like two friends in real life, right? Or three friends, whatever, very small. And
Mm-hmm.
and but we all live kind of vicariously through Facebook and it's or other social media.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think that's true. And I think we've all been craving something deeper. And so that's what we found out, I think, by being part of the community that we're in, with sub two and what have you, is we're all kind of the like mind that there's got to be more there, and that's what we're looking for. And I think we're finding that and starting to find out how to develop it in other areas of our lives as well.
Wow. I thank you for that. So I heard one, like, thank you for giving permission to explore.
Yes,
Right. So you said something about some people may think if you try this, this, and this, that you're wishy-washy.
right,
Right. But one thing that we tell our children, right, and why we put our kids in all these different things,
right,
running us all over the world, right?
exactly,
Try this, try this, try this, try this.
right,
So kind of narrow down for yourself what your thing is,
right.
or what your things are. And that's amazing because I think there's a feeling that we get when we try different things, and we might perceive that people are like, well, Dag, she's doing all these different things, when is she? Some people may tell you, but most people are probably talking about you, right?
Yes, right,
um or maybe you've actually done that before and now you're in the boat like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have judged, right?
right, exactly. But like I said, it's like I was always amazed with the people who did this and this and this, and I'm like, how do they accomplish all that? And then and I'm not saying I'm anywhere close to that because I'm not. Please, um, but I'm not one to sit still. I
Mm-hmm.
always have to be doing something and staying
Mm-hmm.
busy, and I love to learn. So I guess that's
Mm-hmm.
my biggest thing is I love to learn. I love to learn new things, and if it takes me down this path for a little bit, I'm okay with that. And if I get to the end of that and go, it's not quite what I thought it was, but I've learned a lot along the way, and the
Mm-hmm.
things I learned there oftentimes will help me in the other things over here. It's just funny how it all
How it all works out,
ties together. It's like a big puzzle, and you just kind of put it all together. But
right?
that's what life is. So anyway, I'm enjoying the journey.
That's awesome. Something else I connected with was, and I won't say like the whole scripture. I mean, I'm a
Yeah,
believer. I'm just going to kind of put that out there. But
I am too. So that's fine.
there's a scripture that we kind of all know, Proverbs 3:15. I mean 3:5, sorry. But at the end of it, it says, "And he shall direct your paths." S.
Right.
And that was, we hear all the time path. When you hear people say it,
Correct.
singular, but there's actually an S.
There's actually an S. Yeah,
There's
you're
actually an
right.
S,
And people
right? So I
don't
connected
catch
that
it.
with what you said,
Yeah.
right? Like for me, it's like direct, he's going to help direct where you're supposed to go. But it is kind of like, well, try this until you can find out kind of that narrow path at some point, right?
Correct.
Narrower ish path at that point. But then also, what I heard you said is even doing these different things, you've gained skills that are transferable. And so
Correct.
transferable skills are always great, you
You
know?
you build your communication skills so you learn how to speak, not to, but with. Okay, sometimes to, but basically with other people, no
Mm-hmm.
matter what their walks of life. No matter like I'm not afraid to talk to doctors just because they're doctors and I'm not. Okay,
Right,
um, I'm not afraid to talk to to others, and that you build those confidences by
right,
doing different things.
right. I also heard you say about networking and getting to, like, meeting different people.
Uh,
And I think that has always been important.
right,
Always been important. And I personally am not, like, you're really outgoing. When we first met each other, I could tell like you're really outgoing, you like to do things. I mean, you were explaining that about yourself. And I'm outgoing like in the moment, but I could totally be by myself. Right. I've
right.
realized that as I've gotten older. Let me say that. As I've gotten older,
Uh-huh.
I'm okay, like right here. Um, but I think networking has always been very important.
It has.
And I think it's been even more important after the pandemic.
Exactly. And even more important than since the advent of social media, because again, people
Mm,
think they're
mm,
networking, but they're really not. Oh, I like this. Oh, I like that. So you click a button or you post a little comment or whatever. But is that really networking? Again, 5,000 friends, and how many do you really know?
mm,
Um, or even if you had 100 friends on Facebook, how many of them do you truly have a relationship with?
mm,
That you can communicate and what have you. Or pick up the phone and say, "Hey, I'm coming through town. Let's go grab a bite to eat."
right.
And they'd be like, "Yeah, sure." Otherwise it's like, "I'm busy. I'm going to be here." And so, or who is this? you know,
Right.
um, oh, well, we're friends on Facebook. Oh, okay, yeah, no. And so that's my point is we've gotten kind of caught up. So you're right. It's the networking is extremely important um, for a lot of reasons. And
Hmm.
but I think the I'm not saying the smaller you should make your group because obviously that's not what we're about with what we're doing, but just the more you actually have conversations with people instead
Right.
of just the click, the like, the the
Right.
simple fast things. And so my goal is to try and connect with as many people as possible on my groups in a more meaningful way, even if it's
Hmm.
just briefly, and then try to continually do that and build upon
Hmm. Well, you're helping me.
those.
Thank you. You're
And you're
helping me.
helping me.
You're
So yeah.
helping me. And and thinking about that and taking time to do so. Um and being intentional about it. So even when you were saying like every 2 to 3 months you're going to do that, that's a goal. That's intentional, right?
And said
And
correct,
so
said it. I mean, I can tend to do it all the time, but to
mhm,
make a specific, like, okay, it's
mhm,
time to go, meet another 20, 25 people. I don't want a
right.
great big chunk. I don't want it to be, an overwhelming. So it might only be 5 or 10 at a time.
Mhm.
But yes, I actually loved how that turned out this last weekend.
That's awesome.
Um, and I heard the same thing from so many other people. They were like, yeah, so we've all met a ton of people that, um, I mean, there's people out there that are like, oh my gosh, so yeah, like I said, I believe God has a plan, and
Yes.
and the plan for me this last weekend was to meet some really awesome people. So, and we met you just a few weeks ago,
I
and you're part of
know.
that plan. So yes, I think it's
Awesome.
awesome.
That is awesome. Um, so thinking about um I was thinking about like the day, right? For some people who like right now, I know that you have the day that you're able to do different things. Like, how do you? I'm gonna use time block like your time because I was in a meetup not too long ago and someone says you really can't manage time. You can't like grab time and say I'm gonna manage you. Like I'm gonna right, but you can't you can't
You
do it. Like time is gonna keep going, right?
correct.
But so I liked the word of like time blocking. So as an entrepreneur, how do you like set up your day to ensure that you get through the goals for the day? What are
So
some
another area of
tips that you
opportunity for me. Yes, no, you
mhm,
you bring up a great point, and that's an area that I'm severely challenged in because um, when I have my W-2 job, it's like get up in the morning, put my lunch together, out the door, go do my job, and I'm pretty much confined to that truck for my 12-hour day.
mhm,
Um, I'm out on leave right now, so I have more time, but it's like everybody, my family is like, well, go do this and go do that. And can you check on this for me? So everybody's pulling on my time. And my goal is that I need to be building this while I'm out on leave so that
yeah.
maybe I don't have to go back. So I like the time blocking. It's a new concept for me. It makes sense. And I'm kind of an old school person. I told my daughter, I said, I need to go get a paper calendar. I just, the old school planner. Yeah.
Whatever works.
She's like, Mom, you've got your phone. I said, I don't work that way.
Mhm.
I told her, I, yeah, I said, I'm 30 years older than you. I said, I don't work that way. I need to write it down and put it in my calendar so that I can flip through my calendar, make notes, do this, do that. And she's like, oh, Mom. And I'm like, but
Hey,
that's how I am. So I know I've got a computer here and I've got a computer in the other room and I've got my phone and she's got a phone. And if I put something on my phone, but I don't put it on my computer. And then I put it on the computer in the other room and it doesn't get to, and so it's driving me crazy. So I
yeah,
told her, I said, I've got to go to Office Depot and buy a calendar. And it's this stupid, simple stuff, that will trip you up. So
right.
that's what I need to go do is and do that and just keep that. I used to, that's how we ran our business. I had
Hmm.
computers, but I had an old school calendar that and it was at the office and everybody wrote everything in it. And that was how we,
Mm,
kept our things because that was in the days when even though we had computers, we didn't have all the software, the things that they've got nowadays, as
right,
far as for things. So
right,
that's my biggest thing is yes, I do need to manage my time better. You're right. You can't manage all time, but I need to manage a good chunk of mine better. So
mhm.
that's a huge challenge.
Yeah. So what is just in my regular job, I'm a coach, right? So all these
Right.
questions I'm asking, right?
I know.
So
Yeah. You're
so
awesome.
thinking about um the time blocking, what is one thing that you could commit to doing in the next week to help the distractions, like, okay, like, or I guess set some boundaries around your time so that, and help other people understand those boundaries so that you are able to accomplish what you would like to in a certain time block.
Right.
Like,
And
what
therein lies the
things
rub,
that,
right? Yeah,
right,
there
right,
there's the
right,
problem.
right.
Um, so basically let people understand if I'm, um, I'm trying to treat this like a job for now because I am building it. So if I were at another job, I wouldn't be able to be on the phone, with my family or friends. I'd be expected to be doing my job, right?
Mm.
So that's what I have to do instead of, oh, this is just kind of, yeah, I'm building it. This, no, 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 I'm serious about this. That
Mm-hmm.
so I need to devote the just the actual time to it. So
Mm-hmm.
that's communicating that to, yeah, friends and family and saying, okay, if I don't answer your call, send me a text if it's an emergency. Otherwise, don't keep calling me and calling me.
Mm.
My kids will do that. They'll call me once.
I
If I don't
understand.
answer, they'll call me again. And so if you've called me 2 or 3 times, well, it must be something important. Oh, mom, what time are you coming by the house? Really? Yeah. You're
Right,
blowing my phone up for that? Okay.
right,
Send me a text because I can usually answer that. So anyway, so
right.
that's going to be some of the things I've got to get serious about getting, kind of, yeah, those boundaries. You're right. You said them as
Yeah.
their boundaries.
I mean, and I have to do the same. I do work all day and I have a limited amount of time in the evening. So I do have to protect some time to do this. One of the questions when we signed up was just like, are you able to commit 7 to 10 hours a week?
Correct.
Right. And so that's something that we have to map out. And since we're battle buddies, we have to hold each other accountable to that so that we
Right.
are able to accomplish the goals that we have set for ourselves and for our family and
Right.
those people that we're going to help. Right. So,
And still help them to understand what the ultimate goal is, because ultimately
right.
the goal is to have more time free, so more time freedom.
Right.
um, but you've got to build that. It doesn't just happen. So yeah.
Right. Okay, so that's kind of last thing, right? What
Okay.
are some words of maybe 3 words? Gotta think of 3 words, three
Uh-oh.
powerful words that you would like to use to encourage anybody who is out there listening about their entrepreneurial journey, like these successes or like not as successes, but to encourage people to continue to go on their entrepreneurial journey.
um,
3 words.
fear. Fear's good. It's not a bad thing. It's okay to be afraid. That's what fuels the fire. Okay. um, Fire would be another one.
Mm.
um, because you've got to have a fire in your belly, a fire in your gut to want to do something.
Mm.
There's got to be something that drives you, and consistency.
Mm.
So being consistent with your efforts. We hear this a lot from Pace, right? From all the groups, and it's true. You hear that a lot because it is. So whatever you do, give yourself enough time. Be consistent with it. If you only try it once or twice, you go, that's it. I can't do it.
Yeah.
Well, that's not fair to you or anybody else.
Yeah.
Um, and so, yeah, and in order, once you're consistent, then you can get beyond that fear. You develop
Mm.
that fire even more in your gut to
Look at
have
that.
more. So they all tie in. To me, they all tie in together.
That's awesome. That's
That was
beautiful.
on the spot. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Like when it comes from the depths of your belly, and your spirit, then it's
Uh-huh.
right on point. So I
Yeah.
appreciate that. Thank
All
you for
right.
that encouragement.
No problem. You make me sound smarter than I am.
You are smart, right? You are
Oh,
smart.
no.
So I want to thank everyone. Thank you, Mindy, so much
Thank
for
you.
allowing me to interview you on my podcast today. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today on All Things with Miata Hunter. We will see you soon. Bye bye.
Thanks, Miata. Take care.